All right, I want to give my draft grades for the AFC South, and I'm gonna be honest. This division was really underwhelming in this draft this year. The Indianapolis Colts, I gave them a C plus. Tyler Warren, great pickup. This was the guy they were eyeballing at the start of the draft process, and there was some concerns that they might not have even been able to get him without trading up. Well, he fell perfectly in their laps. He can do it all. Not only does he play tight end, you can play him at fullback, you can play him in a slot. But with Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones playing quarterback this year, I wouldn't be surprised to see Tyler Warren playing a little bit of QB in his own right. He can throw as well. He's just a Swiss Army knife. And Shane Steichen is going to have a lot of fun just moving him around in this offense, creating mismatches for opposing defenses. I had him as my tight end one over Colts and Loveland. I was a little shocked to see teams higher on Colts and Loveland than they were on Tyler Warren. But Tyler Warren, the knock on him is that he's not as athletic. Well, I'm not going to say as athletic, but he's not as fast as what Colson Loveland is. Colson Loveland is kind of like great value Brock Bowers in a sense. Tyler Warren more so. You put him in a slot, he's not just going to be blowing you away with how fast he moves as a tight end, but I felt he had faster game speed than what people allege with his 40 time and whatnot. This is an overall great football player. My only knock on this pick is I don't trust Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson are going to be good enough to get him the damn ball. With how Anthony Richardson just sells 5 and 10-yard passes, I'm worried Tyler Warren won't be properly utilized until the Colts actually get a freaking quarterback underneath center. But, if Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson can hit the open guy this year, Tyler Warren just adds to an already stacked offense. You got A.D. Mitchell, you got Michael Pittman, you have Josh Downs. You just have a bevy of riches. If the Colts can get some serviceable quarterback play this year, they definitely should be a playoff team. You get JTT. I thought he would have been a first-round pick, really productive pass rusher out of Ohio State. He's going to have a really good career. I see him being a 10-year guy in this league, probably ends up having a really good rookie season. He had a game against Michigan 2 years ago in 2023 where he just completely took over that game. Well, it wasn't Michigan. It was Penn State. My fault. My apologies for that. But he just took over that Penn State game. He was causing fumbles. I think he had an interception as well. That was one of the best defensive performances that I have ever seen out of a defensive player. I mean, he was just making his presence felt all over in that game. And the Colts have invested a lot into the interior of their defensive line. So getting JTT, even if you don't plan on starting him, he'll just be a really good rotational guy. And then eventually, going into his third, fourth season, you eventually should see him turn into a defensive end that probably gives you around 8 or more sacks consistently every single season. And then outside of those two picks, Tyler Warren and JTT, I wasn't the biggest fan of this draft. DJ Giddens is cool. Jalen Travis, he's solid. But Riley Leonard in the 6th round, he's no different from Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson. I guess Shane Steichen and Chris Ballard have this infatuation with tough, mobile quarterbacks that are better runners than they are throwers of the football. Maybe you plan on using Riley Leonard in somewhat of a Taysom Hill role where maybe he plays a little bit of tight end for you. Maybe you want to play him at fullback, but I didn't really understand the selection of Riley Leonard. That was a head scratcher to me. In this draft for Indianapolis, where you should have drafted another safety, another corner. That was another big issue that they had on that defense last year. That secondary couldn't cover a soul at times, it seemed like. I thought they would have at least went with a safety instead of a guy like Riley Leonard in the 6th round. And I don't want to nitpick, a day 3 pick to death, but I mean, come on, man. You definitely could have used some more secondary help. So I give them a C+. The Jaguars had the best draft in the AFC South, in my opinion, this year. Yeah, they did give up a lot to get Travis Hunter, but you're getting a two-way player. He's mainly going to play offense, but he's going to play probably about 30% of the Jaguar snaps on defense. And that's enough for Travis Hunter to have a major impact with the ball skills he has, which is out of this world. He has the best ball skills out of any prospect that has ever entered the NFL draft. How he can just play two zones and one, or two zones at once. It seems like if you watch that TCU game from 2 years ago, he had an interception in the red zone where he was playing the flash and he just comes back out of his zone. He has a high football IQ. He just understands what offenses are trying to do. He has a good feel for how routes are developing because he plays receiver as well. So him playing receiver is what makes him such a great corner. But he's just as good as a receiver as he is corner, which is why the Jazz gave us so much to get him. He's going to have the biggest impact out of any player in the league that doesn't play quarterback. He can play both ways. I don't know how they're going to use him, and particularly on defense. Are you just going to, play him 30% of the snaps every single game? Or are you going to have like a design snap count for Travis Hunter where you're going to give him 30, 40 snaps? Or depending on the team that you play, let's say you play a team like the Kansas City Chiefs, are you going to play him more at corner than what you would if you play a team like the Browns that probably won't have good quarterback play this year? I don't really know, but having him on offense with Brian Thomas Jr. automatically gives the Jaguars one of the best receiving duos in the league. It gives Trevor another weapon to throw the ball to. I have nothing against the Jaguars trading up for Travis Hunter. This is a trade that they had to make. It's going to bring some energy back into this fan base. People are going to want to watch him play, so you're going to put more fans in the seats. Then you get Caleb Renaissau. I know I butchered that. My apologies to him if he's watching this. I doubt it, but he comes out of Tulane. He should be a really good slot corner. Pretty good size. He's a pretty good tackler. This is what the Jaguars need. I wouldn't be surprised to see him starting day one for Jacksonville with the issues that they've had in the secondary these past couple of years. He should be a immediate plug-and-play guy. Brayshaw Tuden, he has really impressive film at Virginia Tech. Really good speed, but also really good after contact. Jack Kaiser was really productive at Notre Dame. Good tackler. I don't think he's that great in coverage, but he just has a really good feel for just getting to the football. It seemed like every time you watch Notre Dame's defense, Jack Kaiser either was in making the play, making the tackle, or he was somewhere around the proximity of where the play ended. He reminds me a little bit of Paul Posluszny. Now, he's not built like Paul Posluszny. Paul Posluszny had like muscles on top of muscles. He had like neck muscles. Jack Kaiser isn't built like that. But his playing style, though, reminds me a lot of Paul Posluszny. And if you're an OG Jaguars fan, you remember how good Paul Posluszny was. I give the Jaguars a B+. This was a pretty solid draft. This is the best draft that they've had. Shoot, I can't recall the last time the Jaguars had a draft class as good as this one, honestly. With how Trent Baalke has just whiffed on drafts the last couple of years, it's just refreshing to see a draft where you're not going heavy on defensive linemen, trying to add on weight to them weirdly. You address pretty much every single need that you had. I don't really think you needed to get another running back in the 7th round, but that's a 7th-round pick, so I'm not going to nitpick that. This was a good draft, the best draft in the AFC South. The Houston Texans, at first, I was going to give them a C+, but you get Jalen Noel, Jaden Higgins, two guys that instantly should come in and be really productive as rookies. Jaden Higgins, behind Travis Hunter and Ted McMillan, he was the 3rd best receiver in the Big Ten. And then you get Woody Marks in the 4th round. This is what made me change my tune on the Texans draft. because I was like, okay, you're going receiver heavy. You draft Jalen Smith. You don't need another damn corner. You have not just the best secondary in the league, but you got a lot of depth at that position. You've drafted enough corners, enough defensive backs as it is. You could have used that on another offensive lineman. So that kind of irritated me a little bit. But you get Woody Marks in the fourth round. Woody Marks was my favorite running back in this draft. Great vision, not necessarily great after contact, but very elusive. But what separates him from the other running backs in this class is how great he is catching the football out of the backfield. He initially started his career playing for Mississippi State under Mike Leach. If you know or remember Mike Leach, unfortunately, before he passed away, RIP to the Pirate, to play in his offense, you got to be a receiver pretty much. And he's like Mississippi State's all-time leader in career receptions. With the versatility that he has, not just as a runner, but catching the ball out of the backfield to the point where you can line him up in the slot, or if you line him up wide and you get him matched up against a linebacker, that's an easy mismatch. He immediately is going to be RB2 behind Joe Mixon. And this just isn't one of those running backs that, is only going to come in when Joe Mixon needs a break. Like, no, Woody Marks is going to get some significant playing time for the Texans this year. Joe Mixon doesn't catch the ball as well as what Woody Marks does. Woody Marks, with the skill set he has catching the ball, he's the equivalent to a wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 when he's on the field for you. What brought this draft back down for me after I was about to give them a B plus is a selection of Graham Mertz. Once again, with how bad your offensive line was, you should have been using these picks that you used on Graham Mertz and Jalen Smith on adding some more depth on that offensive line. You should have at least drafted 2 more offensive linemen. You drafted one in the second round. Cool. Draft 2 more. 3 is better than 1. It's a numbers game. When your offensive line is just sucking water through a golden hose like the Texans did last year, you need all the offensive linemen that you could have gotten. Taking a tight end in the 7th round, you should have been drafting another offensive lineman. You should have went 3-4 deep on the offensive line. It just made no sense to me. That's what just irritated me about the Texans draft. That's why I gave them a B minus. You can argue that I'm being a little bit too harsh, but am I really? CJ Stroud is your franchise quarterback. Protect your eventual $70 million, $65 million investment, which is what he's going to be making when he ends up getting that contract extension. It just confused me, man. It just really did. Get some more damn offensive linemen. You already have corners. What do you need Graham Mertz for? Graham Mertz should have been a UDFA. He's coming off a season-ending injury, for crying out loud. What the hell were the Houston Texans thinking? B minus. You can be mad at me all you want to if you're a Texans fan, but come on. The Tennessee Titans, I'm giving them a C plus. Cam Ward is going to be an absolute stud. But, outside of getting him, man, I was really, really upset with the direction the Titans chose to go after that. Chimere DK in the 4th round, he's nothing but a bona fide deep threat. He didn't really do too much at Florida. You could have gotten Chimere DK in round 6 or 7, but you did get Alec Oyermanner. And I love this selection. This is one of the biggest steals in the draft. Alec Oyermanner, if you play Dynasty Fantasy Football or you are looking for a undervalued rookie wide receiver who can break out like a Ladd McConkey did last year, Alec Oyermanner is that guy. I would never forget how he just completely destroyed Travis Hunter 2 years ago when Stanford played Colorado. Travis Hunter was just getting bullied and pushed around like Alec Manor was bullying him for his lunch money pretty much. You also got Xavier Restrepo as a UDFA. Alec Oyermanner is going to compete for immediate playing time, and he's the perfect fit for the skill set that Cam Ward has. He likes to be really aggressive, pushing the football down the seams. Alec Ironmaner, he's going to win those 50-50 matchups. But he also has pretty good enough speed where, he can be a elite deep threat. He's not just a 50-50 ball guy. He also can be a good possession receiver. Alec Ironmaner, I had a second round grade on him. And you got him in the fourth round. I thought he definitely would have went a lot earlier than that. But outside of getting Alec Ironmaner, I didn't really love too much of the other selections that the Titans made. I felt they probably could have used some more help on the offensive line. You got Khalil Mullins at running back in the sixth round. He is a converted linebacker. When you already have Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard, I felt they could have did a little bit more on defense. Probably could have went a little bit heavy at linebacker. You didn't draft the linebacker at all after you got rid of Kenneth Murray. I just wasn't a big fan of what the Titans did in this draft. You were reaching for guys like Chimere DK. Kevin Winston Jr. should be a pretty good pickup for you. Really good against the run. His coverage is a little bit hit or miss at times, but I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name of their second round pick. That's why I kind of been, eluding it. But he can be pretty good for them. I just felt you could have got him a little bit later. Overall, this was a pretty underwhelming draft by Tennessee, but getting Ironmaner definitely makes it look a lot better. And Chimere DK, I don't think he will be unplayable, but you could have got him a lot later in the draft. So these are my draft grades for the AFC South. Leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. Your grades for all of the AFC South teams.